Hidamari Apartments is really something. Its price range is average, except for one of the rooms that leaks like crazy when it rains. It's right across from the school, so that raises the noise for most of the year. It's not particularly large, so it only has so many vacancies. And yet, the draw to the place is so simple. The location is ideal for one. Right across the street is Yamabuki High, an institution known for its art division, which is key in drawing those passionate and compelled by that walk of life. And Hidamari serves as a gateway of opportunity to those students coming to study from further away. The accessibility even giving someone down on her money the room for her boundless creativity and infinite energy to shine brightly. But Yamabuki isn't the setting of Hidamari's sketch. It is at Hidamari Apartments where every episode begins, with awakening, and it is Hidamari where every episode ends, with a bath to cleanse away the fatigue of the preceding day. Even episodes largely taking place at the school inevitably wind down to the home. Hidamari is a home, housing a family. Its relation with Yamabuki is a unique one, and such a unique location gives rise to a unique story. This one centered around those weirdos of Yamabuki High's art department Hidamari tends to attract. Don't worry, they're gone now. So what is it specifically that really makes Hidamari so special? Saying that Hidamari is a home is no overstatement. Estranged from their blood families, the residents are by and large independent. The lovable landlady only pops in once in a blue moon, and beyond that, they effectively have no adult supervision. Beyond what they took from their homes and what living expenses they get from their families, they are there to fend for themselves. It might seem like an ideal fantasy, but a free environment only has value in what's made of it. Yunochi's strongest suit is her diligence, the constant drive to hone and improve her skill uncommon according to her teacher's reaction when Youkoso directly asks for a critique after an assignment. Even when confronted with harsh failure, through the advice of her friend, she is able to find the strength to pick herself back up and keep drawing, even if that drive is one born of anxiety. The fears of being untalented and average at best in a school of so many others even more interested in the arts, those who appear to shine so much more. Sure of themselves and their profession, while even with her options narrowed by the path of creativity, Yuno is still lost in the dark. She pushes herself in hopes of finding some sort of guiding beacon in those routes where she flexes whatever skill she has. It's a question she struggles to find an answer to, but it's one everyone must contend with at some point, whether they can even reach for their desired answer or not. Those who do have the answer to that question are always ones older than Yuno, feeding into her other primary struggle in advancing herself, maturity. Yuno has a diligence and worth ethic appreciated much more in others than herself, and that gloomy self-doubt stems from the self-recognition that she is a child. All high schoolers are children as much as they might want to shake that notion, and Yuno only appears more childish for her desire to shake that notion. Every time she sets out to be a good senior for her juniors, for that express purpose, she fails, looking more like a child in the end than she already did due to her height. Mia often appears childish due to her carefree spirit and pure Genki, but she's implied to have gone through some rough times. She eats a lot, but she knows what her yen is worth. And that confidence in her carefree nature means that she's free of the burden Yuno can't help but place on herself. Because that perception Yuno has of her childishness is still largely hers. And compared to Hidamari's other incredibly shy occupant, how mature Yuno is really begins to shine through. Nazuna is somewhat similar to Yuno. Both are aimless students going to Yamabuki, both are varying degrees of shy and awkward or inept, and both without a path to a bright future in sight. But Nazuna is an exception next to all her friends at Hidamari, as she is the only one in the general education classes. While the others were brought to Yamabuki out of their interest in art, Nazuna was set to be a normal student, but circumstances separated her from her parents. What would have been a normal term as a normal girl became something new, frightening, and unexpected when she was suddenly an occupant of Hidamari. Nazuna herself serves as an image all too close to the reality of the aimless high schooler. Unlike Yuno, who had her art and the diligence that kept her working on it keeping her from the fear of having nothing, Nazuna came out of middle school with nothing. Nothing but the basic education needed to get into Yamabuki in the first place. She didn't have passions or interests or hobbies. She had no skills or talents whatsoever. She's not even good at studying despite being a general education student. Nazuna is passivity embodied, the product of a system that ran on autopilot for the majority of her life. Going through the motions because she didn't know what else to do, or have an interest that might have lit another way forward. One segment begins with her being rushed by Nori to get ready for a trip. She gets ready, she's taken from Hidamari to the station, and only after boarding the train does she actually ask where they were going in the first place. It was an honest mistake. She was supposed to be told, but her passivity had her going along with her friends without worry or question. That's just how she goes. Whenever she's seen, she's either hanging out with Nori or just doing nothing in particular. Because until she had those friends, until she had Hidamari, she had nothing of note. But the Nazuna of old was pushed just slightly by her residency. Her worried parents prompted her to lie about her skill at caring for herself, in turn forcing her to actually learn how to cook when they decided to come in for a visit, so as to not be caught in her deception. With help from her seniors, she was finally able to cook for the first time, and while she couldn't keep her parents in the dark forever, she still successfully prepared a meal for them. And that sparked a change in her. Her lie forced her into action, and that action in turn led to her taking steps of her own volition. That night, she proudly considered cooking her own breakfast in the morning, and by the end of the show she's cooking lunches for Hiro alongside the others with no fanfare. Nazuna grew, taking the same steps towards being more responsible with herself that her peers had been taking all along. Leaving at Hidamari forces responsibility on its tenants. Just look at Yoshinoya-sensei. While her childishness is valued to a degree by her coworkers, what comes with it is a lack of responsibility and desires to shirk the duties she doesn't enjoy. Even the simple act of waking up to get to work on time is helped along by her parents, the ones she's always had and always lived with, taking that need for responsibility away from her. In a way, she's the inverse of Nazuna. While she had her interest in art that took her to Yamabuki, she never had Hidamari. She never had a push to be more responsible and independent, so she's eternally 17. Laundry, shopping, cooking, time management. The parent is the guide to all of those, and while Yoshinoya has never lived without that well into adulthood, those at Hidamari bear all that responsibility and no one else. That isn't to say they don't have their easy breaks. Living across from the school means they can sleep in or use that free time for morning exercise. Their allowance from home isn't substantial enough for anything more than frugal spending, but it's not an issue for anyone but Mia as long as they're not too indulgent. Mia's appetite is near insatiable on any normal budget, but when she's shy of a lucky windfall, she has Hidamari's greatest asset at her disposal, her friends. The responsibility of independence could very well be unbearable to the inexperienced girls, but they have each other. Or to be more accurate, they have their seniors. Hiro and Sai have lived at Hidamari only a year longer than Yuno and Mia, but even so, they had their upperclassmen before them. What they learned to help them grow being passed along in a constant cycle of juniors and seniors. The two are even outright called the parental figures of the apartments in their weird family. Sai is like the father. She can be stern, but she's there to lend an ear when she can. If she can't, it's because of her employment workload keeping her busy, as she spends so much time writing romance stories published to an audience across the country. She has to put herself through long hours and sleepless nights to meet those deadlines. And supporting her all the while is Hiro, the most skilled cook in the apartments, always watching to make sure everyone's doing okay. Their experience and wisdom is passed down as skills and advice. Everyone is amazed at Hiro's cooking ability, but when she started school, she was just as experienced as Nazuna or Yuno when they first moved in. She's good, but only because she had the time and drive to put in that effort to get good. A drive bolstered by living at Hidamari with friends who love that cooking. Sai comes across as mature, but she's largely putting on a performance. When talking to Chika on the phone, she's calm, polite, and supportive. But when around her juniors, she gets bossy and stern, typically devolving into an argument because when she's around her friends, she slips into that more parental persona. She wants to appear tough and reliable for them, even if it makes her butt heads with her sister even more so than usual. She drinks black coffee when hanging with Yuno, but around Hiro or of her own volition, she indulges into her sweet tooth with cream and sugar. Sai's maturity is as much of an act as it is for Yuno when she tries to be a good senior. It's just that Sai's experience means the child she doesn't even recognize doesn't come out, something Hiro is always willing to test whenever she puts on airs about her non-existent romantic experience. Hiro herself is much more casual about her maturity. Not that she doesn't have her weak spot with her weight, but responsibility comes naturally with her ability as a caretaker. Yet at the same time, Hiro had the biggest struggle when her graduation came. She feared leaving behind Hidamari, the home and friends she'd come to love. Her first instinct when it came to her future was to teach at Yamabuki, but this wasn't out of a bright love for teaching, but a desire for things to stay the same, a dim desire born from the comfort and experience her time at Hidamari had given her. But like Yoshinori said, even if she comes back to Yamabuki, her friends wouldn't be there. Hidamari is important because the circumstances around it help its tenants to grow and mature under the guidance of their seniors before they take that role themselves, but as she came closer to leaving it, Hiro, seemingly the most mature and responsible, revealed herself as the most childish of the two. Because as she was filled with doubts over the only choice she could come up with, Sai helped her see the sun dawning on the horizon. Hiro had helped Sai so much, but this time, Sai helped her while barely even recognizing that she was doing it, giving reasons as to why the thoughtful and understanding Hiro would make a great teacher. And through that support, she finally found the courage to leave Hidamari. And so they did. There's nothing more indicative of growing up than loss, or leaving something behind. Hiro and Sai were finally ready to leave Hidamari, but the others were a little more stubborn, ranting for minutes as they selfishly demanded Hiro and Sai put their futures on hold and stay even a little longer. But while that was the honest feelings of the juniors, once that time was up, they bottled their irrational, childish pleas and accepted the passing of their friends into adulthood, as difficult as it would be. The figurative parents, those weirdos from the art department, were gone now. And those who were children would have to rise to the occasion in guiding their underclassmen and continue the traditions of Hidamari, that cheap apartment by the noisy school that gave them so much. This video actually had good editing because I paid someone else to do it. And being able to pay editors to allow for faster uploads is something only possible thanks to the help of my patrons, such as Tengun, Luis Segura, Maz, Winchester, Gloogle, The Sewer Boy, Oliver Mort, Mohammed Akim, and Flarbu. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.